computer graphics students, digital artists. I'm going to get you started on the flower tutorial today. This is Mr. House. Let's get started. You'll notice some of these tutorials do not come with specifications, is what I would call them, which means you don't know what file size to use. So I went to File, New, and I'm going to change this to pixels. And I was working on something else, so it left me with a totally different setup here. So I'm going to change it to, let's just do 1000 by 1000. That's a good default size. If you don't get a size, 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels at 72 is pretty good. And we'll call this flower. Up it comes. Now, the first step in this case is to create a new layer, definitely. Then I have you come up to the elliptical marquee tool and draw an ellipse. Something like that'll work. Then use the paint bucket. I'll choose a red and paint it. And then at this point, there are two ways of tilting the ellipse. In the tutorial, they have you press Command D to deselect, then Command T, which is also Edit Free Transform. And up it comes. Now another way to do that is simply when you're on the Move tool, you can show transform controls. So that's an easy way. And then we tilt this a bit. When I'm done with the transform, always hit Enter, and then it changes back to this default box. If something's not happening, if you can't choose a layer, usually it means you haven't finished your transform. Alright, next I'm going to switch to the rectangle marquee tool and slice a chunk off of this. And so I make the selection, I'm on the correct layer here, I simply hit delete and away it goes. When I'm done with my selection, I hit Command D to deselect, or as you can see up on the select drop menu, there it is, deselect, which is Command D. Get to know Command D, it's going to be a very good keystroke for you to learn. Next, I go to the layer I just created and right click and duplicate layer. And when I duplicate it, it creates another copy on top, but it doesn't look like anything changed here because they're exactly in the same spot. So when I go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, there we see it flip, and now we just need to line it up. Anytime I use the Move tool and I'm going to move an object here, if I grab on the center of this thing, nothing happens. That is a focus point, which tells the object where to rotate. We don't want to mess with that. We just want to click right in the red and move it over, and there we go. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll hit Enter, so that transform is finished. I've lined it up here. And I'm going to hold the Command key and click on the next layer. So now I have both of these layers selected. And that's by holding the Command key. I click one, I hold the Command key, I click another, it selects both. Now I could hit Command E or right click, merge. Whoops, I accidentally hit merge visible. I didn't want to do that. One more time, Command click and merge layers, just the two I have selected. Next, so now I'm going to apply the gradient overlay on this layer. So I right click on the layer, go up to blending options, and it's not enough to just click on this and check mark it. You actually have to click on the word which highlights it, and then up come your options. And you can notice I've set it to 25 opacity it's set to a reflected style, reversed, and -90, just like it shows in the tutorial. I hit OK, and it shows up down here. Oops. And I have disabled it. What the? Let's see. There we go. Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but that's what it looks like with the gradient overlay, and we're ready to move on to the next step, which is a really important one. They tell you to command click on the picture in the layer panel. So watch, I hold the command key and I click right on here, and you can see a little icon of a marquee comes up. So what happens is I click on this, and whatever the outline of the object in that layer gets selected. You can see I have the crawling ants now around here. What this allows me to do is paint and put in the shading that that they show in the tutorial. So I'm going to pick a nice big fuzzy brush. We're going to set this down to a smaller size, and then anytime this brush drop menu, when you're done with it, it's kind of weird. It's like you can just click out here in the gray and it goes away. So then I set my opacity down to 20%, I believe, 25, something like that, just a low opacity. And now, because this is selected, it won't paint outside the lines, so I can click and drag and paint in like so, but I don't like that because I don't have black chosen. Now I'm in. Okay, so I chose black as my color, and I click and drag, and you can see just a little bit starts in, so I add in a little more. Now notice I can come with my brush and add in a little on the edge. So what I'm doing is darkening in, giving it that shaded look. So I'll continue through here. More in here. Now remember, if your brush, if you're getting a look that's really sloppy, here let's show you an example. If I accidentally chose this brush, which is not a soft fuzzy brush, when I come in, it does this kind of thing. It has hard edges, and that is not the look we're going for. So I'm going to Command Option Z, get rid of that. This is more of the look we're going for. Alright, I think that's shaded in. I'm going to hit Command D, and now I can go to right click, duplicate layer. Up comes a layer again. Again, I see it in the layer panel, but I don't see it here because they're exactly stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to go to the Move tool, or they tell you to go to Transform, and this time be Flip Vertical. Okay, so then I'm just going to move this up, and then I'll switch to this layer, move this one down. We're going to get it all centered. There we go. And I'm just using the Move tool to get them in place. Now I can hold the Command key, select both layers, and I'm going to hit Command E to merge them. Now, in the tutorial, you would right click and duplicate. I'm going to show you a new thing to try. Hold the Option key. Notice a double arrow comes up. I can just click and drag and I make a copy immediately. So just click and drag once, that makes one copy. If you keep doing it, it makes multiple copies and can get very confusing. Now I have Show Transform controls up, so I'm going to get to the rotate part. I hover here, click and drag, and as I do that, I'm going to hold the Shift key, and it's going to take it in 15-degree increments, right to 90 degrees, and then I'm going to move this into place, and there we go. So this should take you far enough to move on with the rest of the tutorial. When you get to the green leaf is made the same way as the flower petal. So you can refer to the steps in the flower petal to make your green leaves. And they have you make a new file. So I'm going to show you something. I'm going to hit Command N, and I'll make another 1000 by 1000, and notice I have two tabs up here. Okay, so I'm on my new untitled, and I go to elliptical marquee, create a new layer, like so. I paint it green. Okay, let's say I'm all done. At this point, I can take this layer and drag it right into here. Well, I can take this object and drag it right into here. There we go. So I started here, I clicked and dragged this right into this file. Okay, and now I have a green leaf on a separate layer. So that's one way to manage two files at once, which you'll be doing later when you do the green leaf. Thank you for learning.